Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Andrew Moran, Sarah Cowgill, Kelly Ballard, and James Fight. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, Fairy Tale or Brothers Grimm. One genius wants to gut the Constitution, and we discuss that in Amendments Matter. We'll talk about the latest liberal scandal in Disney and IMDb rigging interviews. And then there's a new lefty game afoot, the tip-shaming revolution. Add in a trivia takedown in Just for Fun Volume 35 on the U.S. Constitution, and that wraps up our episode with a red, white, and blue bow. All this and more coming up in this edition of the Conservative Five. California Governor Gavin Newsom has a humdinger of an idea. Gut the Second Amendment, then replace it with the new 28th Amendment. Liberty Nation's Jim Fight wrote, quote, "Surely the very Constitution itself would never be rewritten in such a way that would turn the founders' ideal of individual liberty on its head," unquote. Yet here we are. Well, this announcement is nothing new. Others have tried to change the U.S. Constitution and failed on a seismic scale. How could an amendment possibly fail? Well, let's take a look back at the amendment that no longer exists. That would be the 18th, commonly known as the Prohibition Amendment. Jim, your article on Liberty Nation was enlightening. Please expound.
Yeah, the 18th Amendment. This is what happens when the nation gets swept up in a movement. They think it's a righteous movement. We're gonna fiddle with liberty and fiddle with the framework of the country for our own good. And it failed horribly. Crime skyrocketed. It was the birth of organized crime in this country, which then, of course, led to even bigger government to fight the organized crime. We got all of our federal gun control began there. It eventually got repealed 13 years later, but even then, it was illegal to homebrew beer and wine until the 1970s. And it's still illegal to home distill. I mean, we still don't have all of the freedoms that we lost when Prohibition went into effect. And we're still dealing with organized crime, gun control, and a bloated government. So
what you're saying was the damage was done. 13.
Oh yeah, those scars will never heal.
Yeah. Sarah, what's your feeling? I know you're very pro-prohibition, but let's get
me and Kelly are going to discuss that at the pub later. Prohibition was ridiculous. It did exactly what Jim said. And then not only that, but all those darn criminals from Chicago would come down around my area where there was a nice, Sulphur Spring resort, and they'd bring all their cronies to hide out down there. So, we were subjected to this. There's tunnels all over the property where I live for the Al Capone guys and their henchmen. My grandma even dated one. So, you've got, you bring an element into society and then it spreads. And this is what they've done. And this is what Prohibition did. And it didn't stop anybody from drinking. It started speakeasies. It started hooch tunnels. It did everything but stop people from drinking. So you can't legislate morality, and you cannot legislate gun control, because then the only people that will have guns are the people you don't want to have guns.
Jim, let's back up for a second and just find out a little bit. What exactly is Gavin Newsom suggesting in this 28th Amendment?
Well, see, that's the as the late great Herman Cain used to say, the devil's in the details, right? Yeah. There aren't really any details. There isn't like a bill text or anything. He just has a proposal that we should have a 28th Amendment. Now, what he wants is a lot of what's going on in California right now. Assault weapon ban, of course. I mean, that's the obvious one. Raise the minimum purchasing age for firearms to 21. Magazine size cap, mandated waiting period, a quote reasonable waiting period, which is undefined. Who knows what that'll end up being? Universal background checks. Basically, the progressive wish list of gun control. Everything short of just saying, "Hey, no guns." And all of this, by the way, is supposed to respect the Second Amendment.
Andrew, you're up there in Canada where there's a whole lot of gun control. Talk to us a little bit about where you feel this should go in the United States based on where you live now.
Well, before I go, I would just like to say that the chances of my 28th Amendment passing are lower than my state's education scores. But in Canada, I mean, there's a lot of pushback at the federal government's clamping down on guns, especially when it comes to the rural communities of Canada, particularly surprisingly First Nations, because under Trudeau, he wanted to ban hunting rifles. But since the First Nations depend a lot on these hunting rifles for sport, for food, there's a lot of huge pushback against that. And now you're having cities who are clamping down on handgun weapons like Toronto. So, but I'm a libertarian. I'm pro Second Amendment. I don't care if anyone has tanks or nuclear weapons. I don't care about those things. Those things don't bother me at all. But on the topic of prohibition, I would push back that at least Prohibition brought us those great James Cagney movies, and Humphrey Bogart, the Roaring Twenties, the Big Sleep. All those pictures brought us a lot of those. And also, there was a great part in James' article, which I do recommend all our lovely readers to read. He wrote that in the early days of Prohibition, the law worked. And then he went to talk about the rise of criminal gangs and speakeasies. Now, if you had a prohibition of guns, let's say there was a complete ban on weapons by the federal government, that would not stop syndicated organized criminal gangs from using 3D printers to print these so-called ghost guns. So you never underestimate the market innovation to come up with all these ideas to circumvent these laws and bans and print 3D guns as an example.
For those who don't speak Canadaese, First Nation is like our Indian reservations.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank
you for explaining that. But the only person on our panel who's really a Californian is Miss Kelly Ballard. What say you?
I think the more control you try to put on guns, the more out of control it's going to get. The more black markets, the more people are going to be selling them here and there. And crime is going to increase with that. And the people who want to defend themselves, their families, their properties aren't going to have the protection to do so, but the bad guys do. So I think it's ridiculous to try and change the Constitution, especially like Jim, you were saying in your article, how many times have they tried to change amendments?
I mean, there have been over 11,000 proposed amendments.
Wow.
And only
a lot.
few have actually made it.
It's a tough sell. It's not an easy thing to alter the Constitution.
I think it was 33 that made it to congressional vote, maybe.
Yeah. So I don't think it, especially since it doesn't have any teeth. It's very vague. His 28th Amendment is very vague. I think he's just trying to get some numbers for the Democrats and possibly for himself.
Or maybe he's just trying to get a little bit of attention there. Well, If so, we fell into that trap. Well, there you have it, folks. Newsom's idea is just another bad idea for America. Shocking, I know. And now I think it's happy hour somewhere. See you at the bar. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. Movie site reviews. You get options, thumbs up or thumbs down, and you can gush or gripe about the flick. It's a go-to page for many a movie savant, but what if you found out that the movie reviews are being rigged? This is what the Internet Movie Database, also known as IMDb, is being accused of. Rigging Disney's The Little Mermaid to give it a more positive evaluation. Miss Kelly, you are in the thick of this one. What the heck is going on?
They're trying to claim that there was a bunch of reviews posted at once. So kind of like, a review bombing or something. And that they're saying that they think it might have been skewed by people who have multiple accounts or whatever. And they're trying to claim some of it has to do with the fact that Halle Berry is playing the part of Ariel, the Little Mermaid. The problem with that is that this live action movie, the way Disney is starting to do some of their more classics now, it didn't get good reviews anywhere in the world. Korea and China, it did not do well there at all. So what they did is they went in and they readjusted the way they calculate reviews. So you may go in there and say it's a bad movie, and your reasoning behind it is because of the live action, making the puffer fishes and, whatever other under the sea creatures out of technology instead of cartoons. And that's what I've seen a lot of people complaining about. I have not seen the movie yet, so I don't know.
Rigging reviews, I think, is really dangerous business, Sarah, because people have learned to really trust those reviews. One of the things that the internet has done is opened up the chance for people to give reviews, give a lot of feedback, and a lot of people count on that. Now, when you start screwing around with that, that gets pretty dicey because then you don't know what to believe.
Well, I mean, you gotta believe in something that might just interest you or pique your attention. And I don't think that's what's going on. I think they're intentionally driving things to a more woke clientele. And not to say that Halle Berry isn't a hot Ariel. She's beautiful. It's the overall movie that I think people are having a problem with, like Kelly was intimating, that there's just too much weirdness. It's not, nobody's enjoying this yet. And for them to go in and recalculate so that the bad reviews are more, lukewarm, and then pepper them with the good reviews, I don't see how anybody can trust that. I don't see how anybody on Facebook buys something from a Facebook ad, and you have all these fake accounts on there that go through and say, "Oh, I love it. It was a perfect size," blah, 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 blah. So that is going on everywhere. And if people trust that, then you're going to blow $20 a ticket at the theater and then not enjoy it.
So I guess this doesn't come as a surprise, Andrew, that they're saying people don't like it because of racism, which is utterly stupid because Halle Berry has been a very popular actress for many,
long time.
Halle Bailey.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was confused from what Halle Berry from that awful Catwoman movie. But those live action remakes of those Disney movies, they're just god awful. I mean, my kids love Lion King, and they've seen the clips of that new one. It's just they don't like it at all. It's terrifying. It's not like the classic ones. But I don't know if you remember a few years ago when that god awful Ghostbusters remake came out. The comments and reviews in the message boards and comment section were so bad that IMDb actually shut down and permanently removed that part of the website. And that was a great part of the website too, because people could converse and talk about all the classic movies. But IMDb's actions also are not too far from other websites. You guys are talking about movie reviews. You look at Rotten Tomatoes. There's such a dichotomy between the approved film critics and user reviews. The user reviews of these woke movies are pretty much are realistic of how bad these movies are, but the film critics will say, "Oh, this is so wonderful, it's diverse, it's inclusive. Oh, this, if you don't like this movie, it just means you hate this people and you don't like those people. Just love our Disney movies are full of, I won't say what Alex Jones would say, but you know what I'm getting at."
Yeah.
Well, to even be nominated for an Oscar now, the movie has to be diverse. It has to include, something from everywhere, or else you can't even get nominated now.
No, you can't just tell a story. You can't just tell a story.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss, he's a traditional liberal, and he went out and said, "Oh, this ridiculous diversity points for the Oscars. It's just absurd." And people wrote this article saying, "Oh, he wants blackface to return."
He's an old white guy, so I mean, what do you expect, right?
Jim, you've got a passel of little ones. Does Disney reign and rule in your house? And have you seen the?
No. I haven't seen any of the new Disney stuff. I mean, I've seen clips and stuff. I don't let my kids watch most newer Disney stuff specifically because of the progressive and specifically LGBTQ propaganda. That's targeted to young audiences, and I just prefer them not see it. And it's conversations I don't want to have with my kids at this age. But we're talking about, oh, you're racist if you don't like this movie because it has a woman of color in the starring role. No one would care if they would just put forth the effort to still make a good movie. Exactly. If they make a good movie with a black arrow,
like
nobody would care that Ariel's black.
They have a beautiful main character and then nothing else jives.
But if you want to see how reliable IMDb is these days, you go to its section called Top 250 Movies, and you see some of the pictures on that list. It's befuddling. You have this Spider-Man movie, Cross the Something, and it's better than Goodfellas Casablanca, and Sunset Boulevard. And you have another movie called Avengers, and it's better than All About Eve and Citizen Kane and M. So you can tell how reliable IMDb is just looking at that list of those god-awful movies surpassing these greatest films.
On the other hand, even if there is a lot of review bombing just based on like, oh, we don't like Disney, or oh, we don't like this because she's Ariel and Ariel's supposed to be white or whatever. So what? Is it wrong of me to say so what when the progressive world has been boycotting conservative companies and stuff for years? I mean, there's a website called Done Good or something to that effect. They actually track companies that support Trump so that people can boycott them, and they give you alternatives to spend your money with instead. I mean, it's
if we really want to look at this as a racist thing, you've got the easiest argument at hand, and that is the musical Hamilton. That thing has been the most popular, sold out thing on Broadway, traveling everywhere, and it's a black cast. White people are lined up to go see it, and we all know it's
a long time too.
Yeah, and it's like we know that that's not the real Hamilton, but it's a good production, and that's what people count on. They count on being entertained. They're going to spend that kind of money on a ticket. They don't want to be disappointed. It's not about race. It's never been about race.
That music is awful. I don't know what Sarah's talking about. I heard some clips of that thing. Oh, my ears are chilling me. Listen to those things.
All right. Before we get too deep into this, the much beloved movie critics, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. Anybody remember them?
Love them.
I remember the Muppet versions of them.
Yeah, they were the human reviewers. But they're long gone. And so apparently is our ability to let a movie flop at the box office for fear of being called racist. Join us for more free thinking and free speech topics on LibertyNation.com. Thanks, panel. Well, now it's an official thing. Tip shaming. From sandwich shops to coffee shops, everybody's got their hand out. I'm not talking about those who actually serve. I'm talking about cashiers at the local sub shop or self-service businesses. Everyone, it seems, has their hand out. All these people are getting paid by Subway or Starbucks or whatever name badge is on their shirt, right? So what gives? When did tipping for service move to tipping for everything? So we get choices when we check out at Subway. Do we want to tip 15%, 20%, or 25% for our tuna sub? And then we have to click the button in front of the cashier whose eyes are boring down on you. Andrew, when did this national trend begin, and why is it spreading like Canadian wildfires?
Well, probably one of the issues is that inflation is, of course, so high. So these companies are trying to balance between pleasing their employees and balancing that with the high cost of all their goods and services. I'm in the minority here. I can already feel it. I can feel the room. I can sense it. I know what Lisa's thinking.
Are you reading the room?
But this is an example of a first world problem. Now, let's go to some of the numbers here. According to a recent Bankrate survey, the first thing is that 2/3 say that they have a negative view about tipping. And then 41% say businesses should pay their employees better. Now, I don't see what the problem is with tipping. If you don't want to tip, then that's not an issue at all. If someone's serving you a sub and they go far and beyond and they're so great and they're kind, and
God,
I don't see what's wrong with giving an extra buck or two.
That's what a tip jar is for.
Well, yeah,
well, it's the same thing.
There's a sub in your mind, and they have a tip jar, and you put a couple of bucks in there. That's going to go to the staff, or you can put an extra buck or two on the screen on the screen there.
Tipping is for service. It's not. I mean, it's for service, right?
It's for running back and forth and filling your coffee and clearing your table and all of those things. Bring me more ketchup. Bring me more salt. And
I'm
pepper
not anti-tip. I waitressed my way through college, but I'm saying I did something for that money. And I also didn't get paid $15 an hour. I got paid more like $3,
right?
$50 an hour. And
I don't like how it's attached to when you go to check out. And like you said, then the cashier's sitting there watching. Well, how much are you going to tip me? I don't like that.
But I don't get that though. When I go to Subway or whatever, or Tim Hortons, whatever the place, I don't get that sense that the cashier's watching me and putting sinking their teeth in me.
You don't live in a small town with the same cashier and the same sub place and the same. You must live in a big city. That's all I can say.
You know what I've never understood is why anybody cares what that rando standing next to him thinks about their transaction.
Yeah,
I mean, if I go into a coffee shop and I'm like,
cashier
hey, I want that $8 cup of coffee.
Don't you feel like if you don't give them a tip, they might not put as many tomatoes on your tuna sub.
No.
next time.
If I want extra tomatoes, I'll pay the extra $1.50 for the extra topping.
I'll tell you when this all started. I'll tell you when it all started with a charity thing. Do you want to round up to give to?
Yeah.
Would you like to donate $1 to the Boys and Girls Club?
Round
Yeah.
up for Ronald McDonald House.
Children with cancer. Like, so you feel like ingrate if you're not giving to kids with cancer. When did it stop that people stopped giving themselves in their own way? I mean,
when I go buy stuff, I just want to buy stuff. I don't want to be asked 35 questions at the checkout.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm my
if
own
you want to avoid
most important charity, so I'm gonna just go with that. And I get you, Lisa. I do. I don't. They look at you like you're crazy. I'm like, you get paid to make that sandwich. I'm not giving you extra money because you put it in a bag.
I'll even go so far as to say, and I waited a lot of tables as well, and lived off tips. I'll even go so far as to say that extends to actual restaurants, and I don't even care if you're making $2 and something cents an hour. Don't do a good job. Don't expect any extra.
Yeah.
It's hard to find good service now. People are just entitled.
Well, if people would stop tipping for crappy service, that wouldn't be the case, now would it?
But here's the thing, though. If you want to go,
big pet peeve, and I've went into stores and they don't even look up from the register, or even say what the amount is. They just wait, and I just stand there and say hello, and I don't do anything. I wait until they actually look at me and respond. Because it just irritates me. Customer service means customer service.
Well, supposedly. What I've always hated, though, is this whole percentage thing. Like, in what world does the amount of money that I'm paying the restaurant for the food I'm getting have anything to do with the amount of work and how good a job the server is doing bringing it to me? Why should the tip be any different on a $20 meal or a $50 meal? That changes nothing about the server walking over here, refilling your glass, walking over here, bringing your food. It's one and the same.
Andrew's about ready to explode. I can tell.
Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
He's getting all antsy.
Well, if you look at the latest Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI data, it shows that restaurant prices are up about 8% from the same time a year ago. So of course you're paying more at the restaurant. But in this inflationary economy, if you're willing to go to a restaurant or a fast food joint, whatever the case, and spend $25 on a sandwich or on a bowl of spaghetti that's smaller than, or that's shrinking faster than Gavin Newsom's test scores in California.
I thought you were going to say something else.
I thought you were going to say something else too.
So did I.
Luckily, we're not going to have that cut out.
You
Okay,
can
that
spend
was
an extra a buck or two by giving the employee that money. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Because in this economy, why would you go out and spend that much money on a bowl of spaghetti or on a sub? Plus, one more thing too: if you give a tip to a server at a place, whatever the place is, at least you get karma points from the universe. The universe is going to reward you for that extra buck or two that you gave to that person.
Or maybe the universe is going to say, you took the resources I gave you and you squandered them. I'm just saying.
Somebody was giving you the evil eye at the cash register.
I just don't want to feel guilty about how I spend my money. And I don't want to be confronted with little children who have cancer at the Safeway checkout, just like I don't want to be confronted. Charitable giving comes from the heart. It's got to come from the heart. It shouldn't come from, do I press the button and round up?
One could make the same argument about taxation. Okay, I'm done. I'll leave it alone.
Another show, Jim. Another show.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on record on saying, how is it that whiny bunch seems to be in charge, and we all have to feel guilty about it? What happened to being proud of doing a job well done? Thanks for watching, folks, and don't feel guilty about not giving up your hard-earned cash for nothing. We're back with trivia, and today we tackle the U.S. Constitution in a segment we call Just for Fun. Too bad Liberty Nation's legal affair editor Scott Cosenza is not here to wipe the floor with our C5 panel, but we shall continue. And push on anyway. Okay, panel, we've got our hands on our buzzers. Andrew, you're going to tally for us. You're the economist.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You can count to 5, right?
Well, the answer, or is it Article 1, Section 10? That's the answer for me.
No, Jim's
The
got
one
the
part of the
answer.
Constitution he read.
It's the 28th Amendment, right, Jim? The one
That's it. It's the 28th Amendment.
That's the answer. Okay, everybody get ready. I have selections, so you can wait or you can just jump in. But anyway, multiple choice. Number 1, who is known as the father of the Constitution?
Thomas Jefferson.
A, Benjamin Franklin, B, George Washington, or C, George Mason,
Franklin.
or D, James Madison.
James Madison.
Oh, Madison.
Madison, you can't say.
Of course, now Jefferson was actually on the committee that wrote the entire Constitution.
Okay, who got that? I think
I did.
Andrew got that.
Andrew.
I think Andrew got that. Okay. All right, which of the 13? Number 2. Everybody ready? Look alive. Come on, come on, come on. I want some real
I'm going to the bar since the 18th Amendment.
Could I have a glass of alcohol when you get a chance?
Right? Well, since the 21st, anyways.
Yeah, since the 18th has been repealed.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. Which of the 13 original states did not send delegates to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787? Was it Rhode Island, Vermont, or Georgia?
Rhode Island,
Georgia.
I think.
Jim,
Georgia.
ding, 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 ding.
That's the
for
last state to
Jim.
ratify
Rhode
the Constitution,
Island.
so
Very
it's kind of a
good.
guess on that
Very
one.
good. All
Jim
right.
and Scott would be head to head. This could
I
be
know.
exciting.
Hey,
I mean,
I'm not going to lie. I thought about putting
Sarah.
Those things
What
that-
about me? I got one.
We could have a
Constitutional
runoff. We could have a
attorney.
runoff with Jim and Scott.
Wait, what about me? I just
I'm a
got
campaign
one question.
person. I know that.
All right, everybody shut up. We got to give Kelly a chance here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Number 3. You can get this one. 3 delegates declined to sign the Constitution. Why? A, they wanted it to be ratified by the states first. B, they thought it should include protections of individual rights. C, they had a personal disagreement with George Washington. Or D, they felt that it gave the states too much power. I can repeat those if you like.
Too much power. Give the states too much power. It's either that or the.
I believe.
I can
Yeah.
say,
Okay, Jim's got it. You know, Kelly, that was a good guess, but they thought it was to include protections of individual rights.
You can thank those 3 for the Bill of Rights that came a year after the
Yes,
Constitution.
yes. But still, I think
I need to
I
see
think
a
it's
showdown
legitimate
between
to
Jim and
say-
Scott.
it's legitimate to say they felt that it gave the states too much power, but the answer is number 2. Number 4, the Constitution was written and signed at the Philadelphia Convention in September 17th, 1787. But to become law, it needed to be ratified by at least 9 states. How long did this process take? Did it take 10 months, 3 years, 90 days, or 14 months? This is really an interesting question, I think.
It is, because I remember that I know the years, but I'm not sure. I got to do the math in between.
So it was written at the Philadelphia Convention in 1787, but to become law, it had to be ratified by 9 states. How long did it take for that ratification process? 10 months, 3 years, 90 days, or 14 months?
3
14
years.
months.
I think 3 years.
14
I'm going to
months.
say A. Just for
Okay.
It took a while.
It took a while.
Okay, Andrew's got it. The answer is 10 months.
10 months. Okay, yeah.
Nice.
It would either have to be 10 months or 14 months because it was ratified the next year and went into effect the year after that. So
Yeah, that was an interesting question. These are all, by the way, from Pew Charitable Trust, so you
it was
can
a tricky one.
try to
Okay, give me a second. Let me go on the website quickly and I'll check on that.
Right?
No,
And
no,
what
don't
was
get
that
the
you said?
answers. All right, number 5. And there's a bonus question in case we have a tie. When it was ratified. Okay, ready? When it was ratified in 1788, which document did the Constitution replace? A, the Declaration of Independence. B,
Articles of Confederation.
Concept. C, the Articles of Confederation. Or D, the Federal Charter of Freedom. And James is right. It is the Articles of
The
Confederation.
far better version of the Constitution, mind you.
I loved answer 4, the Federal Charter of Freedom. What the heck?
What?
Somebody-
I mean, sounds good, I guess.
Doesn't sound familiar, but it
Right?
could work.
All right, we're having so much fun. Let me give you the bonus question. How many articles does the Constitution contain? 12, 27,
7.
7, or 11?
What did you say, Jim?
7.
You are correct, sir. The Constitution contains a preamble or introduction, a closing statement, and 7 main articles. What is the tally?
So
Jim?
Sarah 0, Kelly 0, Andrew 2, and James 4th.
Jim, you are the constitutional expert of the day. Thank you very much. We hope you all had fun with us. Now we'll go forth.
Well, Kelly and I didn't have any fun with that segment. And I'm telling you, we need to go back to
you guys are
campaigning,
going
which is
back
what I
to
know.
Civics class. Back to civics class right now. Anyway, go forth and stump your pals with these questions. Thanks, panel. You were all great. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, or on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own new and improved Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Special thanks to our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill, and our editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. Free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.